Well, good everybody. So here we go. We've launched the new leaderboard for the tracker coming up leg 4 back to cows in the UK, and it's live to give you combined IRC rankings all the way back to the finish line. And what that means is now you can see the individual IRC rankings for leg 1 or leg 2 or leg 3. Okay. But if you go on to leg 4, you'll see what we've got there is the combined, at the moment, it's combined rankings of leg 1, 2, 3, ready to start on leg 4. And that means as the boats cross the start line, once the start gun goes, you can see the continuous updating of where they are to the finish, where they stand in relation to all 4 legs. So the leader will be apparent all the way back. Now, there is, first of all, it's been fantastic that Yellow Brick have been able to set this up. And to explain a bit of the history for that, there are a couple of companies that do sophisticated custom-built software for the Yellow Brick tracker, the Yellow Brick YB3 unit that creates the position information, firing off either at 4-hour intervals or 1-hour intervals. That's just raw data, and you can then use that data in a software package to give you the results that you see on the leaderboard, and also against the backdrop of a Google Earth map, and have windy weather come over the top and so on. And you may have seen in some of the other big name events, they all have their own software, custom built tracking program. Okay, some of them now, they still continue to use Yellow Brick because it's free. All right, and we are now the biggest event that Yellow Brick has ever had to deal with, and they've been basically custom building some things for us at no cost to us, because if we had used a custom built system, budgets can run anywhere from 100 to about 130,000 euro just to create some super sophisticated racing program, which we don't need. I'm very happy with the Yellow Brick information and the standard Yellow Brick program, which we've all been using. Now we're upgrading that a little bit with the Bayonet platform, and I'm about to do a tutorial on how to use that. So if you haven't seen it yet, go to the opening page of the OGR website. Just scroll down one frame and you'll see all these different boxes of the various features that select information like the SoundCloud calls or the tweets or the daily tracker updates and so on. It takes you straight there. And one you'll see in the bottom right corner says Bayonet platform. And that's a compilation of all of the information that is available from OGR to cover the race, like the SoundClouds, like the satellite photos or videos on board that the entrants are sending us, or any incidents that take place, and the tracker. And you can go back and follow that at any time on the original course. You can backtrack, and you can get historic weather when you backtrack. So you can go back to leg 1 and someone was sending a video photo at the time. You can see what the weather was like when they did that. So all the information is on one place, and we'll be featuring that more and more as we go through this last leg of the race. It's quite an amazing thing. But for now, what I'm going to do, the reason for this live is to answer some of the questions that we've got, the questions and answers. And then once I get that out of the way, I'm going to just show you and explain the leaderboard now with this new information and how the penalties are imposed there as well. And you can see the different results for that and how it works. So stand by for that update. But in the meantime, I'm going to get rid of these questions first. We've been incredibly busy. You've probably seen we've had briefings, we've had parties, we've had all sorts of things going on, and it's all kind of very busy. Now we're doing all sorts of other stuff. Oh, we just had a monumental storm come through Punta del Este. It was a big rainstorm called a giant squall. It went for the peak of it went for about 20 minutes, and it was blowing, I reckon it was blowing 35, 40 knots, huge amount of rain, very turbulent winds, thunder, lightning, all sorts. In fact, it could have been longer than that because it started to rain initially, and it's the most impressive one we've seen since we've been here. Usually the weather's pretty good. So that upset a lot of the plans on the dock. We were going down to film some video tours through the boats, but that didn't happen. Ada's actually been down there doing some video tours on the boats, which we'll share because they're quite good and they're very interesting. The first one that we've shared of hers is actually Spirit of Helsinki, and I think she's just finishing one now for White Shadow. and she's got a few others in the can as well. And we've been trying to get down there to do some, but we've been very busy as well. So anyway, we'll share hers while they're coming, and we'll Jane and I hopefully get down there soon. All right, so the questions, I've got 19 comments here. I haven't even seen these before yet, so they're going to be completely new. Here we go. I've got them here. I go to all comments. Boom. Okay. All right, so getting straight into it. Kathleen, I read that at low tide caused some boats to have to go get lifted to make sure any damage reports. There was a couple of boats that got too close to the back wall. It's a fixed concrete pier at 2 levels. You'll see later on in the lives off the dock when we're leaving. There's one for the public up the top, and there's a lower one for the boats. And they've got a bow mooring, like a mooring buoy on the bow, and the sterns is back onto the concrete walkway, similar to the Mediterranean type moorings. And we've had some tidal movement during the course of various stages, and initially most of the boats, the procedure's been the same, where the guys and girls arrive, and they're absolutely excited to be here, and they tie the boat up, and we've got a passerelle that goes on the back. You've seen all that, and all they want to do is get off the boat and disappear. And some of them did that for up to 24 hours, didn't come back and check the boat. The winds come along, and the passerelle on some boats has fallen in the water, and the boats have moved up to the wall. And yes, there was a couple of rudders that hit the bottom, and they've been warned, stay at no closer than 2 meters away from the wall, but they went back. And so, yeah, there was some minor damage. I think 2 or 3 boats went out to get lifted and sort out the little damage to the rudder. One boat, Outlaw, their passerelle came down. It was suspended from the vertical line, and it rammed up against the wall. And then as the boat went back, the passerelle was there, and the passerelle went through the pushbit, basically buggered up the pushbit, and then bent the steering wheel. The wheel was there as well. So when Explorer went on, for instance, when she was there, I knew the crew were getting off, but I went down twice during the night. First was 10:30, or we had some line chase, so I sorted that, and then went down again at 2:30 in the morning, check again, and everything's okay. And most people have been up with it. And once you settle the boat down for about 24 hours or 36 hours, you can you know what the lines are doing, and it's sort of okay. So there are some boats with people living on board, but most of them are living off the boat. And since all that happened in the early days, nothing else has happened. And that wall's been there for 40 years. And all the Whitbread boats and the Volvo boats and the BOC boats, I was tied up there in 1990, didn't have any damage. It's one of those things. We make everyone aware of it, but little things can happen. Okay, John. What's the draw for a stopover in Uruguay, since it is the second smallest country in the UK? Specifically, the draw for the country of Uruguay. Well, it's just a fantastic place, and it has a reputation for hosting round the world races. It's a nice place to come to after you've been through the Southern Ocean. It's one of the closer ports. Beautiful hospitality, I got to tell you. They are really friendly and warm people. The club is simply superb. They couldn't do enough for you. And, it's if you had, in fact, we're discussing this the other day, with the Volvo coming here, why would you? Because the Volvo had a huge commercial circus, and they needed a great big race village, and, servicing their sponsors. There's quite a few people here, but it's not a major city. So it lost its attraction for some of those events. But for us and the sailors themselves, it's absolutely fantastic. Simple as that. It's the only way I can describe it. Back here again in 2027. I mean, every boat that comes, day or night, any time of the day or the night, there's 3 members of the yacht club here, giving them gifts and beers and all that sort of stuff. And the parties they put on here are just fantastic. It's a very warm, genuine club, and we like it a lot. And it's a very relaxed atmosphere as well. So once you're, let your hair down, and it's all pretty cool. Margaret, how many of T9's crew will continue on leg 4? I think they're swapping out 3 crew, 2 young ones, and Isabel swapping over for Marco. And so I think it's about 3 that are swapping over for this final leg of the race. John, how are Explorer sales holding up? Pretty good. No worries at all. We've got Rolly Tasker sales. All our 4.5 sales are Rolly Tasker, and we've got big new spinnakers and a cruising code sale. Really cool. We've done virtually no sail damage except for that one incident off Cape Town when we lost a lot. We the four-stage bugger, the reefing gear was destroyed, and we lost one Genoa overboard for no fault of the sail. Okay, that was a human error, and then some equipment failure at the same time, and that was the end of the sail. But yeah, really good, incredible value, I've got to say. They value for money is exceptional. Workmanship is exceptional. All that sort of stuff is really cool. So, boy, that just reminded me of one bloody piece of information coming up with a question, which was really funny. Anyway, Marcus, I think there were 3 damaged rudders. 2 have so far been fixed, and the 3rd not yet. Well, that's exactly right. That's an answer rather than a question. Marcus, why were they parked to the pier with too little water? Well, they weren't. There's plenty of water. The boats are all there, and there's no problem. The problem is that they didn't follow instructions. They were warned by yacht club staff and by OGR not to go closer than 2 meters, because if you do, and you happen to have a big rudder, the underwater profile of the bank, there's all rocks at the back there, and it slowly comes down at an angle. So the closer you get, the shallower the water gets, and so that's when the rudders fail. So to clear the bottom, and so that's really it. Here comes my next question, John. You'll be impressed, John, because I actually looked this up and I wrote it in my book, and I decided to do this right now, and I haven't got my book with me now. But I actually Googled it. It was Henry someone, a skip guy from the early 1800s who was an engineer, and so he developed the idea of a skip, which is used for collecting rubbish and all that sort of thing. So I actually Googled it, wrote everything down, so that when I came to do the question and answers, I could finally get rid of John and say, well, it was Henry Waller or something, or Henry something. I'm remembering what I wrote down. But anyway, for all of you who really desperately want to know who invented the skip, it is actually on Google. It's a Google question and answer. You know, when you put in who invented the skip, and up pops all these different options, you know, what's it there. So thank you for your very important question, John. That's funny. I was going to give you the whole buff, but I forgot it. It was Henry Waller or something bloody thing. Anyway, it was cool. Max, based on the experience gained on the 3 legs completed so far, are OGR considering a review and update of the race rules and or boat and crew? Okay, one at a time. Race rules, there's little things, but most of it will be exactly the same. The weather reporting won't change. It'll be, the big change there is that weather facts will be recommended, not mandatory, because it's for half the world. And you watch, they can pretty much guarantee every boat will still fit a weather facts, but the difference is because it's voluntary, and we tell them that, look, it's not the whole world, it's just an aid. Because we made it mandatory, everyone was complaining, stupid, waste of time. It's you can only get half the world. Well, half the world, surprise, surprise, is better than not having half the world. Because if you want weather information, you go for it. There's a very little known fact that people don't appreciate. This is really interesting. When it's even in 77 Whitbread, WeatherFax was banned because it was too high tech and too sophisticated. So you weren't actually allowed to have a WeatherFax on board under the notice of race because, it's too fancy. You don't want that. Stick with the radio forecasting, usually under Morse code. So that's the big change. WeatherFax will be recommended, and let's see what happens. There's a few little tweaks. Two things we have announced, and I'm really bogged down. I haven't got to get the notice of race finished for 27 yet, because we're simply flat out. I tried to get Lutz on top of that before he finished up, but he was busy at the end and he got straight into his new job. So Lutz is up in the Arctic somewhere, Finland or somewhere, skippering a boat and in charge of this boat. It's quite a cool situation. So he wasn't able to do extra stuff. So we're really busy, but it'll calm down once the boats go, and I'll try and get that up as quick as I can. But to give you an idea, 2 things we're doing, and I announced this the other night. There will be a fuel penalty for OGR 2027. What that means is we fill all the tanks up on the boat before they leave, wherever it starts from. Okay, top them up completely. Then anytime they fill up fuel in each of the stopovers, they have to log how much fuel they've put into the boat. And then at the end of the race, we top up the tanks again, and we will be able to calculate exactly how much fuel was used. And there will be a time penalty for every litre of fuel used. And that will have an impact, and could be a significant impact on the result for the whole race around the world. So the idea of having freezers full of all this food and then running your generator all the time to make truckloads of water with your desalinator and all these different things will take on a whole new meaning. and so will the use of alternate energy sources like water generators, wind generators, solar panels. So we're not going to be ridiculous. We will allow a certain level of fuel to be free, and then after that, the fuel kicks in, and there will be a time penalty. So watch this space. Another one we're going to do is, and I think this is another world first. There will be a requirement for at least one person on board each leg of the race who is trained in the observation of cetaceans like whales, dolphins, porpoises, and so on, to identify them, understand the differences in it. So, that's a southern right whale, or that's a humpback, or that's a pilot whale, or whatever. So they can identify them, and then it'll be a requirement that any time anything is spotted, like dolphins or whales or whatever, you have to log how many, what they were doing, if they were playing or if they were following the boat, if there were birds overhead, if it looked like they're feeding, what direction they were headed, what speed they were doing. We're going to start collecting data on all of those issues, as well as any UFO, as any floating object larger than a domestic washing machine. They have to log the position of that floating object. And the theory behind that is that it just gives us the first lot of data to be used to show people that often the so-called UFOs that boats racing around the world are hitting are obviously and quite often whales. Okay, I've been involved with whales for 30 years. Every time we went to Antarctica, not 30, probably 25 years. Every time we went to Antarctica, we'd be lecturing on the whales and their migration routes and how they work and all this sort of stuff. And then when we're in Tonga, actually Jane, this might surprise you, Jane was the first ever Chinese certified whale swim guide. In other words, she was trained in the identification of various humpback whales and their habits, their mating habits, the way they act when they're not feeding in Antarctica, when they come up to Tonga and so on. So she could guide people on whale swimming expeditions. Anyway, that was pretty cool. And so we lived with the whales for years in Tonga and swam with them often and all that sort of stuff. And I know for a fact that you sail through the Southern Ocean, and you're going from Cape Town to Australia or New Zealand, you're going to cross over some of the biggest migratory tracks for whales in the world. 100,000 whales are all moving down in one highway going down to Antarctica and the krill feeding grounds. So, and the discussion has become quite real on that, with people sort of probably knowing they've hit a whale, but super sensitive subjects, and maybe they don't report it, and because of sponsors and things like that. So we want to be party to starting to collect some of that data, and I think you'll see that becoming more and more common in around the world events. They'll all start collecting that data, and we're becoming more aware of it. In 1990, when I did the VOC challenge, I whacked a whale. It was quite significant. It's all on my film, McIntyre Knockdown. If you watch that, you'll see in the Indian Ocean, I was sailing along. If I remember, the numbers go something like this. I was doing about 8 to 12 knots. Down below, next minute, whack. The boat just about came to a grinding halt, and then heeled over as the keel went over the top of the whale, dropped down. It started to come up really quick, and then whack, the skeg of the rudder whacked into the whale as well. I was convinced it was a whale. I immediately ran out the back of the boat to try and see it. I didn't see it, but you could tell, you could just tell the feel. And subsequently, when we slipped the boat in Sydney, you could see the Graunch tracks on the anti-fouling. So even I hit one in the Kerguelen passageway there in 1990. And since then, the numbers of whales have dramatically increased, probably tripled. I forget the actual numbers. That might not be right. Well, it could be, because that wasn't long after the big, boost. I could check the numbers, but people are hitting whales. There's no question. And so that's what we'll do. Then to top that, this will be a voluntary thing. All the entrants will be requested to carry bird books and start monitoring the bird patterns as well. This any significant numbers and types of birds and so on. But that part's are voluntary. The other parts are both mandatory. So there's going to be a few interesting things. The OGR is a world leader in concepts of what we're doing and how we're doing it, and we're going to continue that. We've got sustainable rules on sales, how we do that, and all sorts of little things. So stand by and enjoy the read when we finally release it. Okay, so basically, so that's the rules and/or boat and crew rules. The crew rules, we discussed this. We had a get together yesterday, I think it was, with all the medical carers and doctors on the boats. A lot of the boats got doctors. We had 2 on board Explorer. And so we got together to talk about the experience for knowledge base and give each of the other doctors an examples of what was happening on other boats and so on. And it was brought up by Neptune, actually, that about Bertrand and his situation with Alzheimer's and so on, that we should be encouraging people with disabilities, and we don't just necessarily mean physical disabilities. It could be psychological disabilities and so on. It adds a diversification and it gives opportunities for others. So we're not going to put in the rules that it's mandatory, but we'll certainly be encouraging and suggesting and recommending that the idea of having a handicapped person on board the boat is a good thing. So just little things on that. We will always have mixed gender crew. Some have suggested we should consider having a minimum of 2 women. It can be pretty tough for a woman on board a boat full of blokes, and at this stage, that's been self-managed. A lot of the boats have got 2 women on board. Explorer's got, on this leg, we've got 5 women, I think. Yeah, we've got 5 women, 5 men on boat. A couple of our women bailed out at the last minute. Long story. So we've now got a mix of, I think it's 5 and 5. We had hoped to have 7 women, but it didn't work. So it'll be a mixed gender crew. And I don't think we'll bring it up to 2 women. Carry on with this question. I'm not implying anything is needed, but it's we're absolutely doing a debrief on everything that's happening, and there'll be quite a few changes. That's the easy answer. John, what are your plans for Explorer for OGR 23 after 23? We're still thinking about that. It might be we might put her on the hard for a while. We'd like to go to Lagos maybe, but that's where the orcas are. They're chewing up rudders, and it's significant, so we don't want to go too close to that. Very attractive to take it down to Lanzarote and leave the boat there. We can fly in and out really easy and go for a sail every now and then. We've got work to do. We're going to strip out all the OGR stuff, like the extra pipe cots and the extra bulkheads down there and the floor, and put all the original stuff back so it's back to a beautiful swan, polish the hull, service everything, and so on. But I'm not sure how much sailing I'm going to get in there. We thought of putting her in the Ark or sending her around the world or follow the mini globe race, but it's just still a lot of work. And then we'll pretty quickly be gearing up for 2027. We will be she will be entered in the 2027 OGR with contributing crew, paying berths and so on, but we'll be selecting them and training them much earlier than last time, so probably up to 2 years ahead. And we want to train the crew so they become a racing crew, maybe not flat out racing, but certainly know what they're doing. Tapio's model is fantastic. Their crew is unbelievable. That's the extreme level. But if we can lock into a really viable crew, we should be able to perform pretty well. And the trick there is I don't really want to announce the skipper until we get a lot closer, because I'm sort of vaguely thinking it might be fun to do it. I'm not saying I will, but if I had the opportunity and everything's right, I certainly might grab it. So I may take it around, or I would think it's probably going to be another GGR skipper. The influence of the Golden Globe race in the OGR is quite significant. We've got 5 GGR people there at the moment. 4 of them are skippers, I think it is, or navigators and so on. And it makes sense. So we'll wait and see. But I'll be looking for I might be looking for a volunteer skipper for the boat, and we'll see how it goes. Because some people forget Mark Sinclair is a volunteer skipper. We're not paying him. He immediately grabbed the opportunity. He thought, "Wow, this is me." He's having a ball. He's doing a great job. All the crew are, having a great time, and it's quite an experience for them. It's Benoit's birthday tonight. He's 69, and so there's a bit of a party going on. So good to see the rain stopped. If you decide to personally sail today, throw my hat. Oh, yeah, you want to go, John? Okay, well, let's keep in touch and see what happens. So good on you. Fred, same question, but in a different way. Why docking there if you knew that will happen? Well, we didn't know it would happen. We advised the entrance, this is what you got to do, and that didn't happen. So, but now everything's fine. No one's hitting rudders, and the party pull is very significant. When you get onto the boat and tidal off or get off, you just want to go. You want to get away from the boat, and so sadly, some are left sort of unattended. Dave, can you discuss maximum hull speed as it relates to the boats in the race? Okay, there is a formula for maximum hull speed. I should know what it is. I forget. It's a square root of the waterline whatever, and you come up with, based on the waterline length of the boat, that'll give you a maximum theoretical hull speed without planing and surfing. As soon as you get on the plane, all that goes out the window and you can go as fast as you like. And different boats plane easier than some of the displacement boats. Like a Swan isn't a natural planing boat, but they still plane when they're really honking along. But you put alongside a boat like Maiden, which is a natural designed to plane very easily. So she planes, gets up and goes. So just I should have it, but if you just Google maximum theoretical hull speed of the boat, you'll see all the diagrams come up, and if you go images, you'll see drawings of how it all works as well. So to exceed the theoretical hull speed, you have to get on the plane. What wind direction speeds are required for that to happen? Well, it depends. If you've got 50 knots coming behind you, you're going to go really fast. But if you've got only, say, 20 knots, the easiest way to get on the plane is going to be probably beam reaching with a bit of a 2 meter or 3 meter sea. It's a variable formula. It's a matrix. So the sea helps. You can surf down a wave, and the wind direction will increase the power on the sails and lateral resistance to the keel to make your boat sail faster. And you want speed to plane. You start to move above your hull speed. The hull starts to lift through dynamic pressure, and next minute you're out of the water, on top of the water, and you're planing. So there's a very strong mix of elements to make that happen. It's not just, the difference between 20 and 30 knots will make you plane. There's a bit more to that. Thanks for your kind words, Dave. That's all cool. There's Fatima sent a picture of Jean on Triana getting the yacht club put less Burgee. They were there every time. So, hi, Don. What was the trick on February the 9th, and how did White Shadow buddies figure out, given the communication blackout? Okay, so we discussed that with him, I'm sure. Where did we talk to him about that? It was anyway, we discussed it with him, and it was a bit of a navigation, what would you say? They didn't get it wrong. They were just... they discovered they made their landfall not quite where they expected, a lot closer than they expected, but they'd actually changed course. They were going up a blind alley in towards Cape Horn. They were going in behind Cape Horn. They were probably 12 miles out of position. And fortunately, they saw it before they went too far in, and they were able to do a crash jibe and come across, harden up, and they ran down the edge of that island and sailed away. So when we were trying to contact them in an emergency, it was between the two tracker points. So by the time we got to them, they were already halfway along the edge of that island. So they were well clear. They did it all themselves. And it was a very interesting story, kind of a bit of fun. So it all ended well. Okay, Paula. I just have a question regarding Maiden and the yellow brick positions. When I look, I see the comment from Maiden, 0-100 now, 1200 for, yeah, that's right, for the life raft. But only 1 hour has been to change for the corrected time. Adding in the 12 hours will change their position for line runners and also for IRC. I can't work out where the 12 hours come from. They only got an hour credit. So in other words, their finishing time, they were able to take an hour off their time on the water, which was done, and that's then being taken care of in the IRC rankings. So that looks like the last of the questions, and I'll start to talk about the IRC rankings on the leaderboard. And that issue of penalties is really important to grasp before I open it up, because the penalties are put to their time on the water. That's when you're actually going port to port. So if you get a 2 hour time penalty, it's just dropped on top. And so that means if you took 10 hours to do the course and it finished, that's provisional time, add the penalty on, that's 2 hours. So you're going to show as if you took 12 hours on the course. Now, if your IRC handicap gives you time, that will mean that your actual penalty to your corrected time might, instead of being 12 hours, it might be 12 hours and 20 minutes, because it's the time on the water that converts into the IRC finishing time. And conversely, the other way, if you get a credit and you had 10 hours, you get a 1 hour credit, it goes back to 9 hours. So you've saved an hour. If your IRC ranking was a negative in the past one, then that means that 1 hour could turn into 43 minutes or something, which is less than you were given, but that's how your handicap works. So all very interesting stuff. Now, if I pull this up, let's talk about the leaderboard ranking. So here's the tracker page. I think you all know how that works. You go onto the website, you hit the live section, and here it is live. It comes up here, and you've now got a whole new column. You can see on the top there, you've got combined results of IRC. You've then got Ocean Globe Race Leg 1, Ocean Globe Race Leg 2, Ocean Globe Race Leg 3, Ocean Globe Race Leg 4. So you can choose. So if we go to Ocean Globe Race Leg 1, you're all familiar then with this leaderboard here. And if you pull that out there, here it all is. And this is for line honours, okay? Line honours and corrected elapsed time. And if you want to see IRC, you come up here at the top, left-hand corner, you hit IRC. And this is the IRC rankings for Leg 1. And translated 9 were the IRC leaders at 45 days, 10 hours, 39 minutes, and 38 seconds. So that gives you your rankings for Leg 1 and your IRC corrected time all the way down there. Okay, so it's very straightforward. So there goes Leg 1. So if we get out of that now, this should work. If we go back one, come on. Right, oh, okay, we go back to the original startup page. So that was Leg 1. Here we've got Leg 2. It's exactly the same. You'll come up with all the issues for Leg 2, and you come up to all the issues for Leg 3, and then let's just, which we've seen, you can call the leaderboard up on IRC or overall. So this is Leg 4. This is what it's looking like at the moment because we haven't started yet. So obviously you've got all of the boats crammed in here. I can show you them all. We could zoom in on them. You'll see. Tapio's going sailing tomorrow. There's a few boats going sailing to do last-minute man overboard drills for the new crew, but everyone's trapped here within the marina at Yacht Club Punta del Este, and then translated 9 is over on the slipway. They can't go back in the water until Monday morning, and on Monday morning they'll hightail it straight to the marina here. They've already checked in, so their countdown is there, and they should make the start. They're actually fitting a new gearbox on the engine. The gearbox failed. That's a long story. They found a gearbox in Italy. They put an engineer on it, weighs 70 kilos, and he jumped the plane from Italy, and he's coming with the 70-kilo gearbox. They must be getting ready to fit it right now. I'm not sure, but it'll be a done deal. So if we go across then to the leaderboard here, and we look at the situation, there's nothing happening because nothing's moved. All right, so that's just Leg 4. So if we go back there, so you've seen how all the individual legs work, and that's where you're going to get the individual rankings exactly the same as what you've seen in the past for any leg, 1, 2, or 3. All right, but now we'll open up the combined rankings. So there you go. Any individual leg, you can get it. This is the one that'll interest everyone for the last leg of the race, because this is a combined total of all, everything that's gone before. So here's everyone in Punta del Este, haven't started yet. When they take off, they'll be racing on Leg 4. And if you want the actual results for Leg 4, don't come here. Go back to the Leg 4 leaderboard, which I just left, and you'll just have the results for Leg 4. Okay. But if you want to see what's happening overall for the whole race, then you come to this spot, which is everything combined in one. And so here it is. It's already on IRC, and I think there is no line on us here. This is all based on IRC. There's a couple of important things to remember when you're looking at this for the first time and how it actually works, okay, as part of the software. First, very importantly, it reads here, these results are provisional. Refer to the race website for official results, all times in UTC. Now, the reason for that is you know that we often have a glitch, okay, and there could be a glitch at any time. So don't ever believe what you see here. It should be correct, okay, and we hope it's correct all the way. But if something might go wrong, and for a day or so, 2 days, you might be seeing false information. And when the boats cross the finish line, importantly, don't take that as a given, because we have to come back then and manually check each result to make sure it is correct. So this will always only ever be the provisional results, but it's a great indication it should be right all the time. So you can see here, this is where it stands at the moment. So Triana, after all 3 legs, is winning on IRC, which is pretty impressive. I won't go into the story of that. You know the story. I'm just going to talk about the numbers here and explain what's happening. So 128 days, 15 hours, 29 minutes, 56 seconds. Maiden is then coming second at 130 days, 13 hours, 13 minutes, and 6 seconds. So they're basically just under 2 days behind Triana. Very much an opportunity here. However, what I would say, that we're getting distracted at the moment. This leg is renowned for windward work, and if you had to put them side by side in efficiency and sailing to IRC handicap, Triana may be looking a bit better, theoretically, or you might say because she's a windward boat, and they don't necessarily define windward or downwind planing when they're doing the IRC ranking. But the IRC ranking on a planing boat can be absolutely distorted higher because all they want to do is forget about the IRC. They want to be first across the line when they're planing more often. So there's still complications in who's likely to be in the next leg. And while we're talking about that, the next leg could be one of the hardest. We talk about the Southern Ocean, but this next leg is going to be hot. It's going to be windward work. It's going to be tactical. When you get across the top, who can hold highest to the Azores. And remembering there could very well be the next storms could be in the Bay of Biscay or anywhere up the top there, because there's a few big storms raging up there as we speak, low pressure systems coming in one after the other. And, the weather season is not going to change a lot in the next 6 weeks. So anyway, moving on from maiden, it's Spirit of Helsinki, 131 days, 14 hours, 28 minutes. And that's pretty impressive as well. That's only 1 day behind maiden. So maiden and Helsinki are going to have a ding-dong battle all the way up towards Cowes to the finish. Very exciting stuff. Then you've got a few spots here that are also very close. You've got Galliana with Secure sitting there at 135 days. So that's nearly a week behind Triana. So Triana's got a week head start on Galliana with Secure. So it goes. Now, off the side here, you can come to any boat and you'll see it talks about penalties imposed or added, credits and so on. So it refers to all of the corrections that have been done. So we pick one here. Let's go for maiden. Okay, so they've got stored stop time. Okay, the first thing I should point out here as well. In the system, we've got the elapsed time and the finish time. Okay, so the finish time was the 17th of February for Triana, and the elapsed time was 159 days, 19 hours and 16 minutes. Now, that's actually not the time in the water. The elapsed time actually includes the stopover time in Cape Town and Auckland, and by the time the boats get away, it will also include the stopover time here in Punta del Este. It's the only way we could write this software program with any sense of efficiency and simplicity was to leave the overall time from start to finish and then come back to the corrected time. So it's a bit of a false figure, but it shows you here what's got to be sort of considered when you come to the stop time. So it talks stop time, 5 weeks, 5 days, 18 hours, 1 minute and 34 seconds. So that's the total time stopped for Triana in Cape Town, Auckland, and so far in Yacht Club Punta del Este. Okay. So in other words, just to alert you to the fact that's there, it doesn't affect this final figure on corrected elapsed time. But if you look at a boat that's got a time penalty, stop time, like Penduic, right? It's got the same stopped time. They always get in first, so they've had longer in port. They've had 8 weeks, 2 days, 18 hours and 45 minutes and 8 seconds stopped in the ports. But they've had penalties as well. And they've had a total of 4 days, 6 hours and 13 minutes and 41 seconds of penalties. And that's been added in, okay, to their finished elapsed time. So you can see what penalties they've had and also what the stop time is to subtract. But these figures give you the ranking in IRC all the way. So, and that once they start in Leg 4, as I say, you'll see this changing as every time there's a new position, and you might see some boats start to move around. So it's a live report on IRC rankings, and it'll be fun to watch anyway. And it's already provided some very interesting insights into who's actually winning the race, because line honours is fun, but IRC is winning. That's the easiest way to explain it. Biggest boats usually get line honours like Spirit of Helsinki, Penduic, Maiden maybe, Translated, all that stuff. They're the ones that are likely to grab line honours. Certainly, it'd be extremely unusual for Triana to have anything to do with line honours, but they're sailing really well, and so therefore that's how it works. I think that's probably enough there. So I'm going to come back here and say good day and see if there's any questions. So So yeah, have a play with that, get used to it. I'm sure we're going to have questions as time goes by on using that. I haven't done the bayonet tutorial yet, but I will do. Well, there's Georgie. I'm going to have to call her down. I'm just doing a live, Georgie, and give her a call back in a minute. So just a quick look here. Hi, Nigel. Greetings from hi everybody. Hi from Adelaide. Don. Okay, Southampton. G'day. G'day from Guadalupe. Okay, that's it. Pretty straightforward. I hope you enjoy that, and we'll keep the fun rolling here and get some more sleep later on. So that's it for me. We will see you later on. Bye for now.